All right. Let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel. I don't personally feel in a normal environment that I would want to talk about this. I honestly don't care too much about Jimmy Kimmel. I found a tweet that expresses my exact feelings on the matter. One thing I hate about the Trump era is how you kind of have to get upset about the stupidest shit. Like, this is a gross assault on free speech and art in this country, but it's also Jimmy Kimmel. You're making me defend Jimmy Kimmel. It's also undignified. That's sort of how I feel. Like, listen, as someone who creates content on the internet, it's like that poem, dude. First, they came for the late night talk show hosts, and I did not speak out because I was not a 65-year-old man watching cable TV. Like, I don't care about late night talk show hosts. It's a step towards censorship of people being able to just speak what they want politically online or in public. So I have to say something, especially in this case where it's so egregious. So, quick refresher, this is the monologue that led to Jimmy Kimmel's show getting pulled off the air.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
So I want a quick pause. In the 2 days following Charlie Kirk's assassination, Kimmel did 2 monologues talking against political violence and talking against celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. This part where he's saying that people are trying to characterize the shooter in a certain political aspect, to my knowledge, probably is incorrect. I think the shooter is not MAGA. So it is incorrect, but again, he's a late night talk show host, and this is him doing a monologue, and okay, just first of all, this is the thing.
But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom.
He's at the 4th stage of grief, construction.
Okay, so it's a standard, late night making fun of Trump monologue. There's been 4 million of these. None about that is particularly offensive or crazy. Certainly not worthy of changing the entire structure on how the FCC allows broadcasters to function. However, it was a big moment. So the new chairman of the FCC went on a conservative podcast and said he was furious. And he said if there wasn't some changes at ABC, they were going to do it the easy way or the hard way.
Frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back on Comcast and Disney and say, listen, we are going to preempt.
Okay, so this is a very important clip for the rest of what I'm talking about. This is a government official, the head of the FCC. He's saying we can do this the easy way or the hard way. He is saying we have a lot of power to impact people's ability to broadcast. And also he's saying what he would like to see done. He would like to see affiliates preempt him and demand Disney pull it down, okay? Understand these 3 things. So it did happen, by the way. So after this, Disney does pull the show. Great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel's show is canceled. Congrats to ABC for finally having the courage. Again, I want to talk about the keyword courage. This is all going to come up later. To do what had to be done. Kimmel has 0 talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth 2 total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC. Listen, it's no secret Trump doesn't like these guys because he actually watches cable news. What they say, even though none of us watch it because it does have fairly low ratings, matters to him. Is a larger pattern of censorship pushing that I have seen especially escalate in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death. Now, you already know my stance on Charlie Kirk. I didn't celebrate his death either. I made a video where I gave my thoughts on it. I'm not happy with murder. However, this is not free speech. And I want to follow up with some of this. So here's JD Vance saying, if somebody celebrated his death, you should call their employer.
So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer.
Then we got Dan Patrick saying,
we're going to remove these leftist liberals on campus who are inciting students. So we're going to hold them accountable. And Laura, I also think that when people do this, their picture ought to be on the internet forever with their name so they never get a job. People need to see them in their...
He's saying if you ever did that, you should be put up on the internet and never be able to get a job. Then Pam Bondi said,
there's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society.
I just want to pause there. There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there's no place for the latter especially after what happened to Charlie. And I think that's a powerful message. I think what she's trying to say is that in the memory of Charlie Kirk, we cannot allow this hate speech. And I think there's some woke libs out there saying shit like this. Hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech. There's gross speech. There's even evil speech. And all of it is protected by the First Amendment. Keep America free. And this so if you're using the memory of Charlie Kirk to create a new category called hate speech that you can persecute opponents on, it doesn't seem to actually be in the memory of Charlie Kirk. Even true patriot and vocal advocate, someone we all look up to, Adam Sandler's friend Rob Schneider, jumped out and said, Pam Bondi is wrong on this one. If free speech means anything, it's the freedom to say things that other people may loathe. Outside of the incitement to violence, free speech is all speech. You're either from all of it or none of it. Wow. Rob Schneider, that's a powerful fucking message. I wonder what Rob Schneider had to say 2 days later when they canceled Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel was just taken off the air. Disney has suspended him for his comments on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Thank you, Disney, for showing a moral spine. Bro, it's 2 days later. It's 2 days after you're for all of it or you're for none of it. This is crazy. This is such a crazy. Listen, it is not one political aspect of America that has the capability to be hypocritical. I've seen hypocrisy deep and well across our spectrum. One example I mentioned on the podcast today is that I found it to be very annoying and frustrating when Joe Biden made a big stink about how he wasn't going to pardon his son. He was going to let the legal system do his thing and not get involved as president. And then right before leaving office, he did pardon his son. I thought that was like, don't make a big deal about it if you're going to do it. That's hypocrisy. But this example is fucking insane because the pro-free speech hoorah rah has been such a rallying cry for this group in particular for so long. And this is so petty and so small. It's so nakedly hypocritical. And I want to point out two parts because I think this is about more than just free speech and about more than just Kimmel. And this is the part that kind of worries me and what I want to talk about. Okay, the word courage. The stations had the courage to get this done. Rob Schneider said, thank you, Disney, for having a moral spine. It implies that this was some brave act from these networks, finally like growing a pair and standing up. When in fact, I believe that Bob Iger's decision here, at the end of the day, he pulls the strings, was extremely, extremely spineless and based entirely in fear. Here's the situation.
The companies have to have the courage not to capitulate. They would win ultimately. They're just afraid of, in the meantime, what would be the price they would have to pay.
The companies are afraid, this is Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey, describing the basic situation here, which is that these companies are doing a very basic calculus. They are trying to figure out whether the amount of money they will lose by not capitulating will be more or less than the amount the show makes. If it's more, they will give in every time. They don't care enough about the shows or the free speech or anything if it'll get away the money. I want to give you an example. I didn't talk about this at the time because also I don't care about Colbert really. There's all this news. I can't cover every damn thing, but I finally feel like I need to say something. Colbert got taken down. Colbert, not great ratings, also a late night talk show, but the timing of it was so specific. Trump said, I love that Colbert got fired. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next, which is prescient given this was in July. At the same time as Colbert got fired, he was part of Paramount, and Paramount was trying to do an $8 billion merger with Skydance, and Skydance needed FCC approval to get the merger done. So what they did was they tossed Colbert in order to get the FCC to give them the approval to get that $8 billion merger done. Now, if you're bigger than Colbert, if you have enough clout, if you're important financially to the Paramount product, you can get away with insulting Trump. Because if you've signed a $1.5 billion 5-year deal, then suddenly it's their problem financially if they get rid of you. But if it's something smaller like Colbert, even if Colbert was profitable but small, they don't want to risk the big money. This is the big money. And they will easily and happily and enthusiastically jump in the way to throw you what you want, to give it up, to toss their own broadcasters under the bus to make sure they can make the big money. And I want to look into what happened here. How exactly did Kimmel, for these relatively minor comments, get taken down? So Kimmel does the broadcast.
From it.
He does his monologue. The FCC comes out and says the clip we showed at the beginning. Remember this part.
I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back on Comcast and Disney and say, look.
Okay, he wanted the licensed broadcasters to push back on Comcast and Disney. So how did this actually all happen? Well, it turns out that's how it started. This company, Nexstar, who owns a lot of ABC affiliates. Now, I'm sure this is all very confusing, but if you don't know, or if you're not from America, the news breaks down like this. If you're one channel, you might have 1 million local affiliates all over the country. So Disney might own ABC, which might own Jimmy Kimmel, but they use local affiliates like Nexstar and Sinclair to get it to your actual broadcast. If I'm in Arizona and I go to the same channel as you, the NBC channel, as you in California, I'm going to see something different. That's the affiliate. The affiliate will play mostly the same shows. They'll play Kimmel and The Office and whatever, and then they'll have local news. And the reason they do this is so they can have local advertisements to your own area. And these affiliates are owned by different people, like Nexstar and Sinclair. So Nexstar jumped at the chance to do what the FCC wanted. And they wrote a big letter saying Kimmel has to be taken down. And we're pulling him off all of our 13 major networks they have for ABC. This is what kicked it off. This is what led to Jimmy Kimmel getting off the air. Now, what do you think was happening at the exact same time that would make Nexstar really interested in doing whatever the FCC wanted? That's right, a massive $6 billion merger. Nexstar is trying to buy Tegna, another major distributor, right now. And if you look at the article, what do they need? They need approval from the FCC. So we are seeing this right now, dude. It all comes back to using the ability of the FCC to make the bottom line hurt for these companies, that they are willingly giving up any semblance of, like, they could fight this stuff in court and probably win. Again, the free speech covers what Jimmy Kimmel said, but they don't want to lose this money. And that is the problem. That is what we're getting. We're getting to the point where the threat of the dollar is being thrown around with the power of the presidency in the office to just squelch and smother free speech. And the reason I care so much about this is, like, there really isn't a massive jump from threatening a cable affiliate to get them to take Kimmel off the air to threatening YouTube's ability to merge. Like, if Google has a $5 billion merger in the works to buy a company, they will toss any YouTuber under the bus, no problem. None of these companies have a spine, bro. None of them. And so the idea that any one of them is going to stand up if there's bigger money at stake is completely nonsensical. Oh yeah, that was one more thing I wanted to say. An Australian journalist asked Trump a question. He goes, "Where are you from?" And he goes, "Australia." And he's like, "You're going to make it real hard for your country."
That a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
He asked him, is it appropriate that a president in office would be engaged in so much business activity? That's a pretty fair question. That's a pretty fair question because you can profit a lot as president.
From the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. They want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone. Well, go ahead, John.
Okay. It's insane. The guy should be able to ask the question without being reported to the president of Australia. What is this? Narc pussy ass shit, dude. What is this problem? Just answer the question, which is why I feel like I have to say something about this. It's trash, dude. This is not at all in any way acceptable. If you don't like Jimmy Kimmel, don't watch him. He'll be off the air. Late night shows are dying, but you can't weaponize government in this way to get a show taken down. Anyway, that's my update.